Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first experimental episode of the Red Switch Block podcast. I am Super Koopa, and we're going to talk about gaming stuff. We're going to talk about Nintendo stuff. We're going to talk about, well, pretty much a little bit of everything. I might go off into some tangents every now and again, but I guess you could also call this a commentary. This is kind of an experimental episode. I don't have any guests or any co-hosts, but in the future, that may change. But this is going to be a launch episode, so I guess I'll call this sort of a beta of sorts, just to stick within the whole gaming theme. So, let's see, what is there to talk about today? It is October 24th, 2019, and there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the gaming world. A lot of stuff going on. Especially with Nintendo releasing games, at least into the foreseeable future. No, I don't want my Nintendo.com. I want to look up the news so we can talk about the news. I'll get my news from Nintendo Life. They're pretty reliable. Just so I can quote my sources here. It's a great name for a website, Nintendo Life. Shout out to them. They're awesome. I think they're based in the UK. Yeah, they are. Oh, here they go. They've got an article. Shuntaro Furukawa, which is, I believe, the current president of Nintendo, understands as Iwata did the value of experimentation to Nintendo. He's following in grand traditions. I'm not going to read the article to you, but I am going to look at the article. Huh. That's a pretty good article. So basically what it's saying is how the current president of Nintendo understands the importance of experimentation. And this is something Nintendo gets a lot of heat on. They get a lot of controversial opinions on. They get a lot of criticism on because when they experiment, it doesn't always find success. Case in point being stuff like Wii Fit, the touchscreen on the DS, the Wii U is an entire console. Oh, that was a failure. I feel so bad for that. I still have mine. It's sitting here at my setup. But Nintendo gets a lot of criticism for focusing on what people would call gimmicks. And I would agree that they are gimmicks in a lot of situations, like that new Ring Fit thing they have. That's more of doubling down on the fitness thing. It's like, why are you trying to put fitness in games? It's like, it doesn't work that way. Gaming is not inherently about fitness. It's about sitting down and playing something, being stationary with very limited movement. Some motion control is fine, but gamers don't want movement. We don't want physical activity. We're trying to avoid it because most of us are terribly obese, and if we're not, we're just not active, just not sporty. But yeah, it's good that he understands that. I just hope that going forward, Nintendo understands that people still want traditional gaming experiences. They don't mind if you experiment, because eventually you will find something that works, and when it does, people will praise you for it and they'll want more. But they want you to stick to what, they know, what they're familiar with. That should be the primary focus of the company. And I think that's important, because I think you go too far off the rails, you end up with Super Mario Odyssey, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and already I can hear people saying, whoa, 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 what's wrong with those games? Those were, Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and Super Mario Odyssey was... Did I say Galaxy before? I meant Odyssey. Anyways, I don't know. But you might be saying, oh, what's wrong with those? Well, nothing. They're good games, but they're games that for me felt too radical. They felt too different. And you could just say, oh, I'm an old man, I'm complaining. Well, first off, I'm only 26 years old, so I don't know what you consider an old man, but I wouldn't consider 26 old. But secondly, I really think that those games, while being good, they deviated so much from what made those series great that I just didn't enjoy them, in my opinion. I'm not making a definitive statement here, and I have to say this because it's 2019 on the internet and everybody gets offended at every single little stupid thing. But in my opinion, those games aren't as good as they could have been. And I didn't revisit them, especially Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, but weapon degradation without a way to restore them is dumb. I don't like that. I've never liked that. I've never gotten into it, and I can't look past it. I tried so many times because it was the only game I had on my Switch when the Switch launched. It's the only game I got. So I had to put time into it, but I wasn't enjoying it the more I played it. I kept thinking the more I play it, I will enjoy it and I'll see what all the buzz is about and see why people love it and think it should be Game of the Year. Never saw it. All I saw was frustration. Essentially because the game wants you to play in a way that I personally don't like to play. You know, it wants you to experiment with all these different weapons. It wants you to approach enemies in a way that you couldn't in Zelda past. That's why I was happy when Link's Awakening was announced for the Switch, and that game is a masterpiece. It is great. Not better than Link... I almost said Link's Awakening again. Wow. Not better than A Link Between Worlds. That's my all-time favorite Zelda currently. But it's still up there. It's definitely in my top 5, for sure. Very high. And I can't wait to see them do another 2D Zelda. Another new 2D Zelda like Link Between Worlds would be awesome. Or heck, people have been asking for the Oracle games now. Because I think canonically they're next. They either come before or after Link's Awakening. I'm not entirely sure there, but... anyways. So that's what's going on with the Nintendo. At least that's one article I found. Let's see what else is going on. Latest news. Oh yeah, Hat in Time is on Switch now. Hey, remember when they said they would never release their game on Switch? They have a tweet of that. That was fun. I'll probably end up getting it. I've heard good things about it. And I'm pretty excited for it. Nintendo Life is calling it a fine 3D platformer that was worth the wait on Switch. So they thought highly of it. Maybe they fired the person that said it would never be on Switch. Who knows? Ubisoft's open-world adventure Gods and Monsters appears to have been delayed. I didn't even know they were making a game called Gods and Monsters. Apparently somebody put out a fake ad that Black Friday Switch Lites were going to be $150. I wouldn't have believed that. Nintendo's not going to make nearly enough on that. Dropping the price by, what is that, $30? Because it's $199. Well, that may be reasonable. I don't know. But oh yeah, another thing is people are talking about My Little Town, the Game Freak RPG that's not Pokemon, saying it's not great. Honestly, I looked at the combat system and I was not impressed. I like the aesthetic of the game, but the combat didn't draw me in. Just seems kind of, I don't know, just seems kind of weird. Super Monkey Ball is out. I've always wanted to sit down and play them. I think I played a demo years and years ago on the GameCube. It might have been 1 or 2. Super Monkey Ball 1 or 2. And I never really got the chance. Because they've always looked fun to me. But who knows? I've heard that there's problems with this one. Tencent is reportedly hiring Switch port specialists. Oh, okay. That's the Chinese company. And speaking of Chinese, anybody hear about Blizzard? Oh, gosh. I'm not going to get into that can of worms. All I'm going to say about that is, look, they made a horrible business decision. Horrible business decision. They should have just ignored it unless the Chinese government said you need to do something about this. But they proactively made a horrible choice, and now they're paying for it, at least in the West. But unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is all of this hoopla is going to amount to nothing. It all hinges on BlizzCon for people, what they do there and how people respond. And quite honestly, I don't think anything's going to come of it, because people have a tendency in this social media age to really move on. And I think Blizzard is going to try to move on as quickly as possible. And I do want to say, it's not... If you're the type of person who's on the fence on what you should do about the situation, if you are a Blizzard fan, you don't have to stop playing their games. If their games bring you enjoyment, that's fine. This is a mostly political issue. This is a ethics and politics issue. People don't agree with the ethics and politics of Blizzard because they are supporting something that is largely immoral, considered immoral by most people because of what they're supporting. But, or rather, what they're doing, they're censoring. But you don't have to stop doing that. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and we both came to the conclusion that ultimately this is a business-led decision, and a very poor one at that. But you're not some sort of unethical monster if you want to still play and buy Blizzard games. You know, don't let anybody tell you that. If you're just somebody who enjoys a game, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to agree with their ethics and still can enjoy their games. That being said, I personally am not going to support them going forward. This whole thing just left a bad taste in my mouth. I would have probably been okay if their PR response felt more genuine and actually really addressed what people's problems were, but they didn't do that. They didn't do that, and they probably won't do anything about it, so... oh well. But they are releasing Overwatch on the Switch. So if you're into that, go ahead. I prefer Paladins myself, but hey. Overwatch can be fun at times. It can also be incredibly painfully frustrating and overly competitive. But that's just my experience. I have the PC version of Overwatch and played it a little while. Haven't really played it since I found Paladins, because I think Paladins is a better game. I like Hi-Rez Studios better than Blizzard in general. I like their games. I like Realm Royale. I like Paladins. I tried Smite. It was alright, but I'm just... I tried Smite. It was alright. I tried Smite. It was alright. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. Okay, I'll stop doing that. I'll spare you people. But, yeah, Hi-Rez is just a good game studio, in my opinion. They produce good games. So... some more good news. Sega plans to release more animated Sonic shorts in the future. Now, this is good news because yesterday I just watched for the first time both the Sonic Mania and Team Sonic Racing animations. They are brilliant. They are absolutely fantastic. They are so well animated. They're well written. They're not even really voice acted. But they're done so well they don't need it. And it's awesome. So, yeah, that's good stuff. They're also re-releasing Lion King and Aladdin. The classic versions that were on the Super Nintendo and Genesis. Is that Konami or is that Capcom? I think that's Capcom. It looks like it's Capcom. Well, Capcom was the original publisher, but I think it's... they're saying Nighthawk Entertainment. So that's pretty cool. You can get cartridges and special edition boxes. Those games are hard. From what I remember, those games are real hard. I tried Aladdin, and it was difficult. And people won't shut up about Untitled Goose Game. It's just a meme game, but nobody has really taken it seriously. But I guess people have been enjoying it. It's been selling as a result. So let no one say that memes don't sell anything. They got a review of Cat's Quest up here. So, basically, I'm just reading articles off of Nintendo Life headlines. One of their headlines says, "We're trying not to be the next Disney," says Nintendo president. "We've never tried to imitate any other company." Well, that just sounds like just a PR statement. You can't really control what your company becomes. That's more so determined by the public, from what in my opinion. That's just trying to keep your individuality. And then there's the whole thing going on with Mario Kart Tour. Now, apparently, I downloaded the beta and played the beta. I thought it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but the full game launched. I didn't get it because I just wasn't interested enough, and Mario Kart 8's fine for me. And the monetization apparently has been the worst that people have ever seen in a Nintendo-related game. And that sucks, but to be honest, I'm not surprised. And they say a lot of it has to do with Dina's fault, not Nintendo's. I think, is it Dina or DNA? I think it's pronounced DNA. It's like DENA. And I think the E is silent. I don't know. But that's their mobile partner. Their major mobile partner. They also have Niantic that they did with Pokemon. But I think that's the Pokemon company directly. I don't think Nintendo has anything on that. I don't think there's any Nintendo branding on that. It's just outside of what they own with Pokemon. Nintendo dev team needs freedom to experiment. I mean, overall, that's a good mentality. That's sort of like the article I mentioned earlier, though. Alright, what else is there? Sorry for the awkward silence. I'm still new to this whole thing. Give me a break. Oh yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming out. You know what? I think that actually is going to be pretty good. I've got some reservations about Luigi's Mansion 3. I liked Dark Moon. I know a lot of people didn't. At least that's the impression that I got from it. A lot of people felt like it was too different, or I don't know. I feel like this is going to be more of the same, more of what they learned from Dark Moon. That's what most of the gameplay looks like. They're just going to keep adding new elements to the old formula and trying to stretch it out as much as possible. Because there's really not a lot you can do with a game like Luigi's Mansion. It's very self-contained. It's very small. The original game was ridiculously small. It's just you went through it so slowly because of how Luigi moved, and you did a lot of backtracking. A lot of areas were cut off, and you had to do certain things to solve it. I never fully beat the original Luigi's Mansion. I still have my original GameCube disc, but I never beat it. And I've been meaning to try to get it on 3DS and try to beat it on that, because getting out my GameCube is kind of a hassle. I don't know, maybe I'll get it out for Halloween. Maybe I'll just use my Wii, because I've got the Wii that's got GameCube backwards compatibility. So maybe I'll do that. Something to do for Halloween. Game is actually surprisingly hard, at least it was for me. But I'm not going to be getting it on launch because I'm at that point in the month where I can't afford to buy it. So, probably not going to bother. Not until... Well, I might be able to get it in November, but I'm going on a big trip and going to spend some money there, so... Who knows? And then I got to start Christmas shopping, of course. So, that's that. Let's see, what else can we talk about here to fill out that time? It's not even 20 minutes yet. I don't know if this thing is going to be like a full hour-long podcast or if it's going to be like 30 minutes. It's still an experimental episode. I hope you guys like the background. It's very Super Nintendo inspired because this is all based on my personal group on Discord, which is Red Switch Block. I'll have a link down in the description below so you can join the Discord. I just realized I misspelled podcast on OBS. I have my source set as what I call podcast background, and I spelled it podcast background. Go figure. You do things in a hurry. Haste makes waste. So that's what that means, huh? Cool. So what else can I really talk about in terms of Nintendo news? I mean, I could just keep reading off of Nintendo Life and commenting on the different headlines, if you guys want that. Just so you people are in the know. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on, not as much as I thought. In the overall gaming world, there's a lot of stuff. There's what's going on with Blizzard. Bethesda's doubling down on their stupidity with Fallout 76, which is baffling to everybody. Fallout 76 was trending, I believe, yesterday. It might still be trending today. Let me check here on Twitter. Social media, man. Such a mixed bag of nuts. Let's see, what is trending? Naughty Dog's trending. The Last of Us Part 2 is delayed until May 2020. This is the second time they've delayed it. Wow. I do not have a lot of faith in that one. Mixer's trending because another big streamer moved there. I moved there a while ago. Well, okay, like a month or two ago. Not that long ago. But, yeah, I guess it's not trending anymore. PAX East is trending, but didn't PAX East just happen? Oh. They're selling their badges. I've never been to any gaming conventions. Been alive 26 years, haven't been to a single one. I used to really want to go. Nowadays, I'm not so sure. Let's see. Yeah, I guess it's not trending anymore. But Fallout was trending yesterday. I got way off track. I apologize. Fallout was trending yesterday, and it was because Bethesda introduced a subscription service that's $100 a year that puts stuff in the game that people have been wanting for free. And they thought this was a good idea in a game that has gotten some of the most criticism I've ever seen for being a technically flawed, buggy mess, and all of the other business blunders surrounding it, including the Nuka Dark Rum fiasco, the DLC fiasco with all the different stuff that's pay to win, the prices of some of the things, prices of some of their non-gaming related items, some of their merchandise. Crazy. This has been the year of crazy for these video game companies. Here's what's going on. Here's what I think is going on. These AAA companies have gotten so big. They've gotten so massive and so popular and so much praise that they really believe that they are invincible as a company. They legitimately think that they can do no wrong. They're that fueled by their ego. And it's sad, because I remember a time where, yes, companies were big, but they understood where they came from. They understood where their success came from. And they weren't catering to general audiences. They were catering to the people who bought and played their games. Gamers. I know there's a big stigma around the name gamer now. I don't know why. I think because people who weren't gamers are starting to get into games and they feel like they're being left out. I don't know. That's just a theory, but people are just really, really... Where was I going with that? I trailed off for a minute, I apologize. But yeah, the companies, they're just so greedy now. They're big Hollywood. They're our equivalent of Hollywood. They're quickly becoming that. And like Hollywood, they're becoming greedy. Now, greed is inherent within any corporation. So a lot of times when people start harping about greed, I kind of roll my eyes because I'm like, you know what? I don't think there's going to be a company on earth that isn't concerned about its income and about money. Because you kind of have to be. That's what keeps your business going. But it's the bad business practices that have been driving people crazy. The prime culprits are EA, Activision, and Ubisoft, or Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft hasn't been as bad recently as far as I've seen. The worst they've done has been Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which people have just said is meh for a game. It's just not a very good game. A lot of their game releases recently haven't been as great as people have anticipated. Neither of their E3 presentations, really. The one that they had in 2018 wasn't too bad. But this year's was kind of pathetic. And by kind of, I mean completely pathetic. No Rayman. The only standout thing was Ghost Recon, and that ended up being a flop in a lot of people's eyes. I know there are plenty of people who probably enjoy it, but I don't know. I usually like those types of games. I still meant to get Wildlands. I still want to on my Xbox, but I have to do that some other time. Also, possibly Division 2, because I like the first Division. I know a lot of people don't like Division, but I like that. Also, Destiny 2 is free to play. I've been enjoying that since Bungie pulled away from the evil empire known as Activision. It's been a blast, really. Reminds me of the first game. But less predatory, and stuff isn't locked behind a paywall. Well, I should say most stuff isn't locked behind a paywall, including PvP. That made me so just blood-boilingly angry when in the first game they locked Crucible behind a paywall. At a certain point, I don't remember when it was, maybe one of you do and can leave it down in the comments, but Destiny 2 at one point locked their PvP, which prior had been a part of the whole paid experience, behind a paywall. And I had already paid for the game. That was the worst thing I have ever seen in gaming up until that point. The worst thing I had ever seen. I was about ready to snap my Destiny disc in half, but I didn't. I was so angry. The very idea that I'm being told that I can't play this part of the game unless I pay them, when prior it was free and I had already paid for it. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And as soon as they announced Destiny 2, I was like, yeah, nope. If they're going to pull crap like that, I'm not going to bother. It's terrible. It's one thing to introduce a new game mode and have people pay for it because that's an addition, that's something that's not available in the base game. It's another thing to yank game modes that have been established and in the games themselves suddenly out and charge people for them. Because that was my experience. And I despised it. So, seems like Bungie is really course correcting, and there were so many other problems with Destiny 2, and really it was just a carbon copy of the first game. It wasn't anything really new. It was sort of made in a rush. I think it was made to kind of correct the problems with Destiny 1. It looks like it was supposed to be a DLC for Destiny 1, but it got too ambitious, so they just slapped a 2 on it. But now Bungie's taking it into their own hands, and so far it's been doing good. Let's see what the future holds. Depending on what happens, this podcast may not age well. But yeah, what else is there? I'm not sure. I think that about does it for things I wanted to talk about. Almost at 30 minutes. It's not very long. It's certainly going to take long to upload. But I hope you guys like this. I hope you guys like this idea of me talking about different gaming-related topics, sharing my opinion. And soon, hopefully, the opinions of some of my friends as they join me. You know, I don't know how the structure is going to look in the future, if we're just going to go topic by topic, or I might try to build around that a little bit more, but I wanted to kind of wing it with this one and just see how it turned out audio-wise, and yeah. I think it turned out pretty good. Hopefully I'm not too loud, but the way that OBS's volume mixing happens, I see it peaking in the red a little bit there, so I'm not too confident in that. But I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I mean, in terms of Nintendo stuff, again, there really just is not anything other than Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon Sword and Shield, which, you know, that's coming. And that's got people divided. That whole fiasco over the National Dex was just ridiculous. And I get the part of it where people are passionate about it. I get that people don't want to see Pokemon cut from the games because pretty much some Pokemon is somebody's favorite, or everybody's Pokemon is somebody's favorite. I don't know how the saying goes, and I get that, but eventually you run into the problem of you can't do as much as you want to do. And whatever their justification was, whether you agree with it or not, that's the choice they made. And so some people are just choosing not to buy it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Doesn't mean they're going to course correct with the next game or do exactly what we want them to do. They're just going to do what they do going forward. And people will either like it or they won't. So, but I think the hashtagging was ridiculous. Every Pokemon post, hashtag bring back the National Dex, hashtag bring back the National Dex. Oh, it was absurd. It was absurd. But I don't think I'm going to get that one day one. I was probably going to get Shield, because I like the look of the Legendary better than the one in Sword. But not now. There's just too much going on, and only so much money. The big thing will be Animal Crossing next year. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I love that series. I'm glad to see it get so much excitement again. Hasn't been a new game since New Leaf, and it's good to see Nintendo hasn't forgotten about it, and hopefully Nintendo sees its success and goes, you know what, we need to focus on this more. Hopefully, New Horizons has a big lifespan, and they keep adding to the game more and more and expanding on it. They kind of did that with New Leaf with the Welcome Amiibo and some of the other things they put into it post-launch. So hopefully they'll do the same with New Horizons, but it'll be on a bigger scope. I was a little bit concerned about some of the things that I saw in that. I was concerned about the size of the map, thinking it was going to be not much bigger than normal or smaller, but there's really no way to tell, and plus they delayed the game, so who knows what's changed since the last gameplay video. And who knows what's going to change, who knows what they're going to change. I just hope they don't delay it a second time. I'm getting really sick of constant game delays over and over again from Nintendo. It's like with Breath of the Wild, it got delayed 3-4 times? And that was over the period of years of delays. And then you had Yoshi's Crafted World that got delayed, and in my opinion was worse off for it. I did not like Crafted World. Started out okay, but then the more I played it, I was like, you know what? This isn't as good as Woolly World. This doesn't have that feel. Doesn't have that good feel. Haha, yeah, I worked that in there. Get it? Because developers, good feel. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. That's my excitement. And my other concern was the whole deserted island setting. Basically having to do everything from scratch. I don't know. I mean, it gives you more to do, but if it doesn't feel like traditional Animal Crossing at the end of the day, then I think that's going to rub some people the wrong way. That's been my concern with Nintendo recently, is they kind of want to break tradition, and I get that because they don't want their games to be stale, and a big criticism of them is that they just do the same thing again and again, but like I said, there's a group of people, myself included, who like the familiarity of what the series has brought to us. What we really want to see is more added to the core experience. I think that's what people want, but Nintendo has a tendency to just take it in a whole new direction. And that's fine, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but like I said earlier, for me, in the case of Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, it didn't work for me. Those games both look gorgeous. They have fun gameplay, but Odyssey just feels empty and like there isn't much to do. And Breath of the Wild just feels bogged down with problems like breakable weapons and a lot of roaming around and not really feeling like you can fight anything because of the weapons, the stamina system, having to climb towers. I don't know. It's just too different for Zelda for me. I just didn't like it, so. But I'm just repeating myself at this point. You guys don't want to hear that, so. Anyways, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, if you liked it going forward, then let me know with... this is going to be on YouTube, I assume, so likes and comments, but just let me know. And I'll give you guys another episode. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm just tripping. I don't know why I'm tripping up so much. I guess because I'm new to this. I'm used to playing a game while I'm talking because of my streaming and Let's Plays, but this is new. But I like this. I like being able to actually talk with you guys and just sit down and talk about different subjects, and I think that works out really well, this sort of podcasty format. So, anyways, this has been the Red Switch Block Podcast for October 24th, 2019. I am Super Koopa Gaming, and I will see you guys next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.